Welcome, friends, and thank you for another episode, or for watching another episode of the Optimal Health Program. Hope you're all doing well today. We've got a lot of great information to cover, and as I always promise, I have some really interesting articles and studies to talk about. We have a wonderful guest today who's going to tell a great story, so we'd love for you to watch. Stay tuned. Call your friends, tell your friends, text your friends, email your friends. As well, I'll be taking your calls here at 888-420-9272, 888-420-9272. You could call, you could email, you could text through Messenger, TikTok, whichever vehicle you'd like to contact us. We'd love to hear from you. For those of you as well that have been emailing through the website, it's terrific. We're getting a ton of emails. We'll go over some of the questions therein as well. So, as I say, we have a lot of great information to talk about. An interesting study, but worries me a great deal, yet another mechanism of health risk, a study that talks about the effects of consuming bread contaminated with heavy metals, yet another food source that has heavy metals in it. So this is an interesting article. We can zoom into that if you want, Frankie. Here we go. And it's worrisome that arsenic, cadmium, lead are higher in some of the bread and grains than that's allowed, by our agencies. I don't think there should be any of these things in any of the foods. So we're going to continue talking about that. You've really got to understand what you're being exposed to. A lot of my patients make their own bread. They'll get their own organic grain and buy a bread machine and, make their own bread. And I think it makes a great deal of sense. It's not difficult to do, but it's a smart way to ensure that you know exactly what's going to be in the food that you're consuming. I love this other thing that I see everywhere on social media. It's called Garden. I may have mentioned it before. Sabrina, did we talk about that before? Yeah. Garden, where you get this device and it's got lights on it and it automatically waters the plants. You put a little pot in and you're growing your own vegetables inside your house year round. It's genius. So another great way to, keep your foods, under tight scrutiny and tight control. Another reason for that, we're seeing cancer risk rising in younger population and younger women. This is from WebMD the other day, January 16th, talking about women under the age of 65 are more likely to be diagnosed with cancer. From the American Cancer Society, the risk is particularly stark for women 49 years of age and younger. So it's 1 in 17 for the young female population, and it's hard to say why this is occurring, and there's a big surge in this now. But again, we have to understand what we're being exposed to. So heavy metals certainly play a role with cancer. And of course, we want to be able to test for these things. Hey, Lola. Lola is our sergeant of arms here. She's a little sweetheart. That's Louis' sister. Louis is off at the groomer, getting all good-looking and prepped up for tomorrow's show, hopefully. My co-host, Louis. And Lola, she's here. Do we have a picture of Lola? You can grab one and pop it up there so we can see.
I'll just show you on my mouse pad here.
There you go. Either way, we've got great pictures of our favorite dogs. She's a boxer?
She's a boxer, but we call her our little cow because she's got that rare white and black that you don't usually see,
Cool.
Yeah.
Dementia risk has doubled, and again from WebMD. It's unfortunate, but we're starting to see a great deal of this. Dr. Yang was talking about this in a study, Wake Forest University School of Medicine in the Carolinas. So we have to understand why memory, focus, concentration is changing, and people are losing that nice, sharp focus in their thought and their brain function. I think it's got to do with vitamin deficiency, hormone decline, heavy metal exposure, chemical exposure, all of these things. This is what literature has been saying for a long time, and now more and more of this is coming, true. One more interesting article talking about sleep deprivation translate to depression, obesity, dementia, and a shorter lifespan. We've been saying for a very long time, forward-thinking doctors like myself and doctors who want to talk to you and get all the good information out, have been saying you need to get good, deep REM sleep. Not everybody does. As you get older and your hormones decline, especially IGF-I, NAD, all of the important things, your neurotransmitters start to change and you're not getting that good deep sleep. You need that to recharge. We were created to need good deep REM, rapid eye movement sleep. So in looking at correcting hormones, that comes back. In looking at taking certain things or chemicals out of your diet, or people that are having too much of the stimulants, whether it's these energy drinks or otherwise, you're just setting yourself up for a problem. And then people wonder why they're not feeling good. They're tired throughout the day. Their focus, their concentration, their ability to work and perform changes dramatically. Weight gain. Yes, there are people that have sleep apnea where they snore, and as they try to go to sleep and they're breathing in, that interruption in breathing, obstructive sleep apnea, makes them snore and they toss and turn, they wake up. They're just not getting that good, deep 6 to 8 hours of sleep. 8 hours would be wonderful. So we have to do what we can to try to figure out why people aren't sleeping and get that back to normal, because it makes a very big difference in your function. Patients with sleep apnea often have arrhythmias, AFib, because of the sleep apnea. So we can go on and talk about cardiac and other metabolic disorders created by sleep apnea or the loss of that good deep sleep. So we want to be able to focus upon that when we do what I say is a comprehensive medical nutritional approach. When I take your history, examine you, get our big blood test done, which now we've calculated is about 216 to 230 individual tests. We really want to know as much as we can about your body, find more things that are causing your problem, fix them, and you get your best outcome. Okay, so we'd like to bring our guest on today. Dominic is a wonderful patient. I call him the Italian Cary Grant because he's always so good-looking and dressed up as he is when he comes to the office. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Good to talk to you, as always. I wanted to give people a little bit of an overview as to when you first came to the office, some of the problems that you had, and that was ongoing for a very long time, and then between our workup and doing the stem cells, you know, how you've done since.
Well, I'd like to begin with my age. I'm 77 years old.
Nobody would know that looking at you.
And I respect and cherish my health more than ever. It's a wonderful time because of the wisdom that we gain at this moment in life, at this point of life. Mm-hmm. And it's a wonderful time because of the clarity of what's been and what will be. Gives me a certain vantage point which I never had in any stage that was younger. However, there is the issue of being 77. Next year I'll be 78, and in 5 years I'll be 80 something. It's a concern, and it's a concern because I don't feel old, although I have some things that keep me from functioning the way I did when I was, say, 10 years ago. But I do feel able and ready and progressing toward what's next. And that's a sign of youth, not a sign of old age. And the reason that I appeared at Dr. Calapai's office is because I was driving in the car one Sunday morning and I stumbled across this, trying to tune in the radio, AM, and I never do that. But I thought Sunday morning was a good time to listen to someone. And I found this voice speaking about a youthfulness, speaking about elderly women and men who might think of themselves as not so old, and a doctor whose prescriptions whose abstracts were about giving you an opportunity to think of yourself medically as young and keeping the systems the way we kept them when we were young. For instance, the testosterone level in men my age usually naturally shrink. They go away. They become less than they were. And Dr. Calapai's ideal is that if you keep that testosterone level to the level of a 35-year-old, then all of the great things that might come with that, and it's not just a sexual function, but it's also a function of the way I feel, the way I want to approach the day, the way I approach tasks that I do, both professionally and personally. And so that kind of idea, listening to that voice on the radio, prompted me to make a call and to visit his office. And I was it's significant but unsurprising to me to enjoy the kind of medical care, the kind of preemptive ideals for my own health, which Dr. Calapai offers in all phases, aches and pains, all systems go, heavy metals that we accumulate in our bodies, kinds of vitamins and minerals that are necessary for us and that are particular to me. And the thing about Dr. Calapai and his direction for his patients is that each of his patients is a specific person with these specific challenges, and that's a plus. That's an idea about health which brings me back on a regular and consistent basis, not because I'm sick or ill, but because I want to maintain this very healthy, robust vision of my life as I go forward. I expect to be as healthy as I am today 5 years from now. And I expect I'll need Dr. Calapai's help to enjoy that. Now, there's more to say. I want to talk about stem cells. I want to ask some questions. I've received a stem cell treatment at Dr. Calapai's office, and I know that application of those stem cells in me work. And I have a small example that I'd like to proclaim, which is specific to me. And I know that the stem cells matter and they work. I know that they're active in my body because I was wounded in Vietnam many, many years ago. And I have a significant shoulder complaint in my right shoulder where I have a piece of shrapnel lodged in deeply in the soft tissue in my chest and shoulder on the right side. And it's a cranky problem, a thing that caused me not to be able to throw a baseball real well with my son as we were growing up, or to overhand a football to him, or to raise my hand high to put the star on top of the Christmas tree, that kind of thing. When I had the stem cell treatment, I was very, very skeptical about what it meant, about what it could be. I was skeptical about the expense of it, but now I think it's a bargain. And that skepticism was transformed because when I mentioned to Dr. Calapai that I had this shoulder problem, what he suggested, and quite easily, this was not something I had to sell to him, and he speaks the same way to his patients as he's speaking here on the podcast, easily, sincerely. He communicates sincerity very, very well to all of us. And so he said, I'll save a little bit of what we extract from your own blood, which they spin in the office in a centrifuge. I'm not up on the science, but I know the first spin out
the bone marrow, yes,
plasma, and
yes.
Then the second part of that is the stem cells, which are then harvested from that machine and dripped into my arm. But he saved some in a syringe and shot it into my shoulder easily, like easy, no big deal, and left it at that. I finished the day, and I couldn't know about the stem cells. I could know about it now. I think I'm not ill, and I've had that I had this treatment a couple of years ago, but I do know this: about 10 days after that injection, I slept one night without turning away from the pain in my shoulder. And then the next night, the same. And then the next day, I realized that I was reaching for something. I was actually writing on a board. I'm a professor at Nassau Community College. Is one of the things that I do. And I realized that my arm was okay. And I started to check myself out. And that pain was gone. And I had struggled with that pain for a lot of years, since 1969. And so it's gone.
Amazing.
It's gone. Now, how that works or what it does is best left to the biology of metabolism and whatever it is that bathed that portion of my shoulder to either repair or cure the pain or give me peace of mind, because I don't have to think about the horrors of the war every day anymore.
Yeah, those cells directly go to where damage and degeneration exists and become cells of that damaged tissue. So you're making new cells that are ligament, tendon, connective tissue, cartilage. For diabetics, the cells will go through your blood, get to your pancreas, become new pancreas cells that make insulin. For liver, kidney, heart failure, MS, Parkinson's, stroke, Alzheimer's, macular degeneration, COPD, for all of these degenerative disorders, stem cell therapy, and the research behind it is staggering, shows that those cells become the damaged tissue to create repair. We have so many videos on the website as well, your great video. So it's amazing to see how your own cells can repair a great deal of the damage in your body. Yeah. So you're able to function, and I know you're very active and you do all sorts of things. It's amazing to see that you have gained and regained, that function. It's also exciting for me to talk to someone who wants to hear about new information, who wants to eat right, exercise, correct their vitamins, correct their hormones, who really wants to create that, vitality again. And, as a physician, that's the kind of patients you love to chat with, because they're there. They're aggressively trying to become healthier and younger and, better functioning. So that's exciting on this end of the stethoscope. So with your shoulder range of motion, your function is back to normal, and you're able to do all the things that for so many years you weren't able to.
Yeah, well, we endure pain in a curious way, right? So you just endure it. I mean, no complaint. Everybody knows what happened to me when it happened, and that was part of my life. It was a veterans issue, and then I became well. I became able to use that arm. Most importantly, without that strike of pain that I endured every day. And you get used to the pain, and you just live with it, accept it, right?
Sure.
So that aspect of the treatment from Dr. Calapai's office is it's a window or a bridge toward the rest of what is offered there. There's a sense of completion in what the matters are. And the matters to him and her and him and her are individual. So it's not something that might be to all of us. It's found through a regular and routine reading of the blood work, which is extensive. And that blood work details and determines what might be here or what might be coming, what might be lacking, and it's an extensive blood work. It checks the heavy metals in our bodies, as well as the cholesterol and the normal kinds of things that the incomplete medical blood works are, say at a doctor's office or at a hospital, which are really minor league explorations of what's going on in your body.
It's interesting because so many patients will come in, and the first thing they say, even before saying, "Hi, how are you?" The new patients, "I want that big blood test." And I say, "Okay, it's really what we're here for." Everybody gets that big blood test, and some, it may vary a little bit depending upon the problems they have. There are a few more tests if we're looking at some of the diabetic or cardiac or infectious, or autoimmune, markers or mechanisms. But yeah, it's about 20 plus pages. And I think when we checked the other day, it was between 200 and some odd and 230 different tests potentially. So the more that we look at, if we find more issues, we correct those, and people do, that much better. So that's the whole point to doing that.
Right. And the corrections, when I look over the blood test myself, the corrections are, they're capricious, but not arbitrary. So I might have a need for selenium, and I never even knew what that was. One time at the 3-month blood test, and then get that into me, or I might have something else that I don't understand and never heard of before that is available in a supplement or some other kind of information about through diet, which I could then correct. And with Dr. Calapai there to answer questions and direct what we need, he and I could correct what is coming, what is there, what might be coming, so that I can maintain my vision, which is what this is about. I want to live. I want to live in the same way that I'm living right now. I want to enjoy this moment and the future moments of my life. Never, ever have I been in such a moment where I'm ready to serve in ways that are full of wisdom, in ways that are accepting, and in ways that can help. I have so much more to do, and that's because I feel like doing it. I feel like offering what I have, because my health does not preclude me, doesn't put me in the couch. My health gets me up and out.
Yeah, being able to create strength, stability in each of your, organ systems and various mechanisms throughout your body. Doing an IV stem cells go everywhere, and we'll search for places to go and create repair. There are literally millions and millions of studies on the benefits of vitamins and minerals, individual vitamins. Research on vitamin D is staggering, research on vitamin C, and, literally millions of studies talking about the benefits. You need those there as food for your cells to protect your body. And once we have that recommendation made, and then we recheck your blood within a month after recommending the vitamins and prove that you're in the right or perfect range or zone, some people we need to adjust again and then retest. It puts your body in a really well-protected place. And once people understand that the exercise that we talk about, even the least amount of exercise I'll tell people to do is to walk around the block corner to corner, slow, brisk, fast, fast, back and forth, changing the speed, etc. You're able to flood your cells with oxygen, vitamins, minerals, hormones, all the good things. You're enhancing your metabolic ability to break down and get rid of waste products of metabolism. So there's so much benefit. And of course, people that have a heavy burden of the metals, as you pull them out of the system, you're taking away things that cause significant damage. And we went over that, and I probably will talk about this forever. And we've spoken about this almost in every podcast in the past bunch of weeks because people call up and ask about it. But this is a scenario where we've been exposed to so many chemicals through food and other sources, it becomes overwhelming, and it's causing a lot of damage in the body. It's causing some arrhythmias, it's causing some cancers, it's causing heart disease, all sorts of autoimmune disorders. So we have to look in depth at this and get these things out of the body. There's no benefit to them at all.
Yeah, I see in the world around me that there are more people that are ill than ever before that I remember in my lifetime.
It's true.
And there's no, I think it's serious. Young people are too often ill with cancer or some other issue. And it makes no sense to me that we have all of this information, and it's not codified nationally or even globally. We have this information, and it appears in these individual bursts of research and willingnesses by doctors who are special, who are thinking about the human condition and what it can be, what it can do, and how we can live healthily, how we can live in vibrance.
Sure.
And you see it. I just finished that book by Tony Robbins, and he speaks to this issue in mass, in chapter after chapter after chapter. And he invested in a company that is very significantly concerned with youthfulness, with being 77 and being able to do exactly what you want, when you want it, and how you want to, with not suffering in pain or being precluded from your activity or the things that you dream to be, or the things that you want to accomplish, because your health can't carry you there.
Yeah, I think we need to have some sort of easy to understand, easily reachable mechanism. And I certainly, I'm doing this, to my extent, but I want to have it so that everybody and anybody can, go to a website and look at some of the articles that we're talking about, look at the research, learn, and then start to put these things in place to make yourself healthy. There's no mechanism now based upon traditional media that tries to get you healthy. Drug commercials are all over the media, and I think there's a drawback there, and they're not really giving you a great look at what's going on with the food supply. Of course, God bless RFK Jr. and his position on getting the chemicals and the dyes out of the food. We've needed this for ages, and now because of the new ideas and thoughts surrounding this administration and what RFK Jr. is doing, I think we've got a great chance at making large numbers, millions and millions of people healthy by making them aware of the bad things, in food and the bad things in our personal environment and personal exposure. So I think we've got a great chance to be able to educate people and to make this a focal point so that everybody can see, don't do this, don't do that, don't eat this, eat organically only, don't expose yourself to chemicals in a variety of different ways that you might be doing now. Get a reverse osmosis filtration system in your home so all the things coming in to the water for your entire house, bathing, drinking, cooking, all of that is completely free of metals or pesticides or chemicals, etc. We have to take this stance and create an entire mechanism so people can have all this information at their fingertips.
Yeah. Speaking of food, I'd like to expose the benefits of my mother, for instance, who is from southern Italy, who knew intrinsically what the value of good food is, and
of course,
everything that she touched, everything that she made was had a sensibility about it, as well as a kind of Italian romance and deliciousness to it. But I grew up eating things that were fried in olive oil. I grew up with olive oil in each salad, and we had a salad each night.
Sure.
I grew up with a balance of carbohydrates, protein, and other kinds of minerals and vitamins that were
healthy food, of course.
Yeah, in the food, and I grew up adoring that, and I still cook that way. And we learn what we learn where we learn it, and that's part of me. It's part of my kitchen. It's part of how I maintain myself. Actually, I take a slug of olive oil every night before I go to bed.
You should. I do it,
and I spend a ton of money buying olive oil because I spend 6 weeks in Italy every summer, and in southern Italy there are olive trees all over the place. As a matter of fact, there are 60 million olive trees in Italy, and there are 66 million people. Olives
that kind of makes sense.
It's a big deal. And Alexander the Great used to comb his hair with it.
Yeah.
And my mother used to cure cradle cap with it.
Yeah.
Babies. And
sure.
Stick it under your arm for something that was bothering you or whatever. But that olive oil, that the purity of it, you should look at that. Olive oil is really a commodity, which we're all fooled about. you should, get that good one. Look at it. I spend $100 on a gallon of oil.
Sure.
Every couple of months, and it's worth it.
Fortunately, a lot of my patients, as you do, travel back and forth, and they'll bring olive oil from different regions. I have patients that are Barets that say that the best olive oil comes from Bari, and other people that are Calabrese and Sicilian. I'm not going to argue which one are the best. I just enjoy eating pure, healthy, organic olive oil, no chemicals and such.
I'll argue that with you. It's from Puglia where the best oil is.
The Puglia certainly might be the best. Let's have a little tasting contest. The other thing that I find amazing is that I have a lot of patients whose either parents were born in other countries, Europe, South America, all over the place, Middle East, and or grandparents are born there. Those people whose grandparents were born in these countries have a far better understanding as to what to eat, what not to eat, no chemicals, pure food, great food. That's it. There's no discussion beyond, you eat the best food you can. And they instill that in their children. And if the children who are the parents of many of my patients or many of my patients, you see that the way that they eat is so much better than the people who were brought up in generations here. So it's just, and I've said, food is like a religion in these other countries. You eat the best food, highest quality, no junk food. They wouldn't dare have fast food, and they're healthier for it. Look at all these other countries, and their disease rates are super low. Here, the disease rates, as I've mentioned even at the beginning of the program, are higher and higher. So we have to change the understanding of what we eat and what we put into our bodies. The better foods, the better types of oils. I have a good friend of mine, Tom, who's one of the higher-ranking students in our karate school, and terrific guy, and he goes every day to buy vegetables every day from the market. He's not buying things that have preservatives and chemicals. He's buying great things every day, for his family, his wife and his kids. So that's an old school thing that had been done in Europe for thousands and thousands of years, and even in South America. People would go to a local farm and buy wonderful products, produce, not buying things that have chemicals in it that last for weeks. You're buying exactly what you need for that day, because that's the best and the freshest way to do it.
Exactly. That idea about farm to table is ancient.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
The
original.
Modern American modern American culture presents that to us as if it's a new idea. But in the town in Italy where my family's from, they go to the market every day and they buy what's available. Yeah. And it's all local. It's all local, and it's farm to table right there.
And it's perfectly created. The soil is great.
Crazy for stocking up on canned goods. We don't make sense to them.
All the people that I've met, and I've traveled to South America, I've traveled to Europe many times, Italy, Spain, France, all these places, it's all the same idea. You get your food for the day. It's the best food that you can get. It's grown in a completely natural setting, no chemical, no junk, and that's the way to do it. That's original food harvesting, food gathering. That's what's been going on since the beginning of time. And that's the best way to have your foods. A lot of my patients will have gardens, as I do, and you create a garden. You can test the soil. You keep that soil doing well. You compost it with, wonderful eggshells and other components of some of the foods that you've had. You put that into the soil, you make the soil rich, and you grow your own food. What's better than that? I've stayed in Europe. Many cases I've stayed in Saint-Tropez in a farm property where it's a working farm, a fully functioning farm. And the eggs that you get from the chicken, it's just a whole different thing. It's nothing like the eggs we have here. The eggs here seem to taste, plain or like cardboard. Over there, the brilliant orange color and big eggs, it's just a whole different thing. So I think more people have to get back to that.
Right. Well, like most things in our health, that one is a big part of what the overall concern is. And I think folks need to understand what you offer and how you offer it. And some of it is hard to understand, like what are the stem cells? What does it mean to have a heavy metal in your body? What does it mean to have a failure of these basic needing substances, minerals, vitamins, and other kinds of of internal necessaries that can keep our health perked. And for heavy metals, for instance, which is something that you allow us to understand, how do you get that out? Like supposing I have a high level of aluminum in me, and when you take it away, how do you take it away? Then how do you know that it's gone? I think people need to know that the simple process, the procedures.
We speak about this every day. That's a great point to bring up. Everybody, teenage and older, really needs to be looking at blood and urine for heavy metals because you see large accumulations. They come from all sorts of things: aluminum and antiperspirant, pots and pans, aluminum foil, etc., lead, mercury, and cadmium in lipstick and makeup, arsenic in chicken, shrimp, rice, apples, California wine, among other things. You just saw the article about bread, containing some of the metals. So if we're looking to see what your body has, a blood test tells us what's free-floating, which recent exposure. Urine test looks at 21 metals, where blood looks at 5. The urine test gives us an idea as to what's leaking out of storage. So once we start to see this, and we use an intravenous treatment with calcium EDTA that binds to the metals, doesn't let them go and pulls them out into the urine, you could really see what's coming out by testing the urine after that IV treatment. It takes about 20 minutes to do that. And then if you do that treatment once a week over the course of a series of weeks, and you recheck that urine after, let's say, the 10th IV, now you're looking at the first urine and the 10th urine, and you watch to see how much has been depleted. So you're proving that those things are coming out of your system. So an ever-growing, ever more important understanding, because these things are causing a great deal of damage to the body.
And what does the aluminum do? I even though I understand what say, I'm not sure how the aluminum looks. Like literally, is it part of the liquid of my bloodstream?
So
is it in particles?
The metals come in particles. There are 2 and 3 plus charge, just like calcium, magnesium, potassium, iron are all 2 to 3 plus charged ions. And when you're supposed to get your binding to your receptors for the minerals, and the metals get there first, they may bind, and now the minerals can't get there. So that damages the cell. There's also something called free radical damage. Healthy tissue and healthy function is super important, but if a free radical is near a cell or near a membrane or tissue, it's going to steal an electron to neutralize its charge. So now that free radical is happy because it satisfied its charge, but it just oxidized that tissue. Oxidation is loss of electrons. And now that tissue is going to start to suffer because that repeated bombardment of losing the electrons and free radical damage can cause many things: cancer, mutations, heart disease, autoimmune disease, the list goes on and on. And that's at the tiniest cellular level. When the membrane of cells is damaged enough that the cell can't resist what's hitting it from the outside, then those cells are porous and allow more damage to occur, and apoptosis, cell death, occurs. So that's sort of the scientific commentary on what happens at a microscopic level. But the metals can cause degeneration in any of your tissues. Aluminum has been long known to cause dementia and Alzheimer's. It's an absolute. Cadmium has been linked with breast cancer. So the list goes on and on. Many years ago, I remember watching an ad on TV, and there's a little baby sitting in a room, and there's paint chips on the floor. And the comment was, lead in paint was really bad. It's always been bad. Of course, it's been banned for many years. But kids might eat paint chips and get what they call pica, P-I-C-A, which is a brain disorder that occurs as a result of eating some of the lead in the paint chips. We've had negative comments about aluminum and mercury used as preservatives in a variety of things. I'm not going to get into that entire conversation, which is a very scary conversation about injectables. But years ago, one of the common companies that were making drops to lubricate the eyes had thimerosal, which is mercury in it, and it was causing damage to the eye. So they took out the mercury thimerosal from the eye drops because it was creating a big problem. So you don't want repeated exposure to these metals, because all they do is cause damage. The younger the brain, the more damage. So This is a crusade to evaluate people, teach people, evaluate what's going on in their body, and evaluate metals and get them out of the system because there's no benefit to it. It's all drawback.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the other things that I'm thinking, having been your patient, and I'd like to proclaim to the world what benefit it is being at your offices, continuing to maintain and manage our own health, my own health, right? I wish it for everyone. It should not be a specialty.
Yeah.
It should be something that is considered a normality. It should be
standard.
Something that regular and consistent. Yes. And so I wonder how people can manage the cost of it, which is real. Mm-hmm. I wonder how people can help to have insurance companies recognize that the work that you're doing not only is to keep me young and vital, but it saves money.
Yeah, of course, minimize risk. So something very interesting. Most people have insurance that covers blood work, and most people have insurance that covers doctor's office visits. It would be rare, except for certain insurance companies like HIP, where you have to go to an HIP doctor and use their lab, and they don't do a lot of testing, et cetera. But most people that have decent insurance, when I see them in consult, their blood work is covered. So that big blood test is covered. Of course, we document all the medical complaints or issues they're having. So the diagnosis or diagnoses, multiple diagnoses, go with the blood work to the lab. So the lab bills the insurance company, and it's covered. That happens in 99% of cases. Office visits, et cetera. And of course, we participate with Medicare. But office visits are coverable procedures. And people that have insurance typically allow visits for, the common medical issues. We're just going beyond the basic. Stem cell therapy is not covered yet. I don't know whether or not that's going to be covered down the road because I think there are the powers that be don't like the idea that I can make someone non-diabetic and get them off their meds, or I can take a person who's got a bad knee or shoulder and really help repair that, and they may not need, a big ticket surgery. So there's an entire psychological and et cetera mechanism going on. So I don't know whether or not you're going to see coverage for that. And I've worked diligently with a gentleman that I think you had spoken to, Josh, who is a veteran blown up in a vehicle. We did a video here on a podcast with him, and he couldn't function, headaches, pain, neck pain, blown up a few times, and went to every VA facility that he could, and they tried all sorts of different things, basic medical and medication approach. When he came in, and I think it was 5.5, 6 or 7 years ago, and we did stem for him, the day that we did the stem, he sat up once we finished doing the nasal droplet where we put the stem cell liquid dripped into his nose. He was lying on his back, and he said his headache was going away. So we made him stay there, for an hour or two. He said his headache was gone. His neck pain was gone right after the procedure. And subsequently, when we went back to, I think he lives in Virginia, wow, my focus is good. My mood is good. I'm going to get up and do a little bit of exercise. He couldn't do anything before. And he started doing more and more activity, started running again. And he was a very, very, very high functioning, I think, Green Beret. And over time,
I can speak to that clearly.
He did better and better, and he ended up going to law school. So now I graduated law school.
Soldiers, he suffered from post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, absolutely.
Traumatic brain injury.
Absolutely.
And what I learned from speaking with him is that PTS was lessened in intensity. So, and that's an emotional issue that results from concrete specific traumas.
Sure.
And traumatic brain injury is
not making your neurotransmitters.
Frontal lobe brain. And that softened in him as well. And that's the kind of information that we need to communicate so that we're not a specialty shop anymore. We become persons who can manage their own health. Mm-hmm. And that's why my call to the integrity of this nationally, globally even, is that this becomes an affordable application.
Sure.
Persons who are interested in maintaining this kind of health.
So Josh went from being completely dysfunctional, unfunctional, wasn't able to work or do anything. And of course, it was a horrible strain on his family, his wife and his kids. But as he got better and better from that treatment, he ended up going to law school, graduated law school, and now he and I are working closely together, and we talk every week, and we're trying to get the armed forces, and there are different organizations that the armed forces has to help, wounded veterans, et cetera, and we're trying to get beyond I don't want to say stigma, get beyond and get the information to these agencies, which he has, and we're getting those agencies to help to cover the treatment, stem cells, intravenous and nasal, for many of them who've been blown up in vehicles and have traumatic brain injury and a variety of these things. So we're gaining a little bit of ground that way. But, we're doing the best we can to try to reach the people that make the decisions. So there are a few different agencies that we're speaking with, and, we're getting some ground, but it's just got to, we got to go full steam ahead. We're trying, but and we have tons of people that have done it and the results are there. So sometimes it takes a little bit more to change the old guard and to change the way of thinking. A good friend of mine works out with the guys that are Navy SEALs, and there's a big foundation, but they've been told that they can't really do much for the gentlemen who are still active duty, but once they're retired, there may be a vehicle for them to be able to get help. So we're trying to break through that as well. So just takes time and a lot of effort. Hi, okay. Wow. Wonderful, wonderful presentation. Lots of great information, Dominic. So as always, thank you so much for being such a great patient, great friend, and coming on the program.
Of course.
We love to hear you chat. We love to hear what you're saying, and very eloquently as well. So I look forward to seeing you in the office again. We'll have more wonderful conversations about Italian food and Italian issues and music and all that.
There's an olive tree waiting for you in Puglia, I promise you.
Oh yeah, I've got to get there. I'm going to try to go in April, I think.
It's south of Barry.
Yep. So. I'll have to go and check it out. I look forward to that. Thank you so much, Dominic. It was wonderful chatting with you. God bless you.
My pleasure.
Okay. Friends, if you'd like to call and ask you questions, you can do so now. 888-420-9272. 888-420-9272. You can call or text or whichever means of contacting us. We can do that. Okay. Let's go to our first caller.
Hi,
there.
Doctor.
Hi, how are you?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
Great. How can I help you?
So I'm calling for a friend of mine who has a condition called CMML, which is chronic myelomonocytic leukemia.
Yeah, chronic myelocytic leukemia.
And that's it. And his symptoms are, obviously, his platelets are dropping rapidly over the last year and a half, I want to say it started. He's now seeing I guess he was seeing a hematologist for a while, and now he's seeing a
what are the doctors doing for him at present?
Nothing yet. He's not getting any platelet transfusions or anything like that just yet.
Okay. Well, a little hard to comment without looking at his blood work and everything else that's going on with him, because when I see patients, we talk about everything, what they're eating, exercise, etc. I will tell you there's a great deal of benefit to helping to correct your vitamins and minerals, etc. Also, there's a lot of information about vitamin C intravenously helping to inhibit, cancer progression. So I tell everybody, and I say this every day because I want people to read and learn. Google Scholar is a great, very easy to search engine. And if you were to put in intravenous vitamin C therapy into the search bar, you'll get at least 1,000,000, 300, 400, 500,000 studies on intravenous vitamin C therapy. A great deal of those studies talk about its ability to help to inhibit cancer progression. And doctors in various places all over the world are using that along with other therapies, whether they may be using chemo or medications or monoclonals, etc. So the literature is there. It's not something that, maybe. the literature and the research is there in huge numbers. So for a lot of patients, we either work with their doctors as well, and we may recommend doing some of these things. So
are there any stem cell benefits for that kind of a thing?
There may very well be, but the doctors that do stem cell for cancer are oncologists that are based in hospitals, because in many cases when that's done, the patient goes into the hospital for a few weeks, usually 3 weeks, 4 weeks. They take out the bone marrow, they extract the stem, they give radiation and chemo, etc., and then put the stem back in. That's a bone marrow transplant. And sometimes they try to use stem cells from donors for that as well. So donor matches, we've heard of that before, but that's stem cell therapy. So that can be done. I just don't do that because I'm not an oncologist. So
right.
There are a lot of, possibilities. That being said, there's an amazing doctor in Reno, Nevada, James Forsyth, MD, brilliant physician. He's got a whole protocol for cancer that is amazing because his stage 4 cancer patients have amazing survival, years and years in many cases. And he'll take your blood, send it to a lab in Greece that looks at the genetics of the cancer, and then they're testing those cancer cells as they grow them in different colonies to see what chemo, what vitamins, what drugs, what monoclonals, what nutrients, herbs help to inhibit the cancer growth. Then he'll put together recommendations based upon that. So that's pretty amazing.
Gotcha.
All our cancer patients, we refer to him. So yeah, if he'd like to, get some information, we'd love to help him out. He could set up a consult and we can guide him.
That's good to know. I figured I'd call you first before I refer,
Yeah, that'd be great. We'd love to help.
All right.
Great. Thank you so much for the call. All righty.
Take care.
The phone number at the office is 516-794-0404. All righty. Looks like we have another call. Not yet. Not yet? Okay. Because it seemed like the screen was buzzing a moment ago. Okay, so if you'd like to call and ask a question, 888-420-9272.
We have some questions on Instagram.
Okay, some Instagrammers.
All right, what do we got? Number one, we got a quick question on the carnivore diet. So do you support the carnivore diet? From Eddie.
It's very interesting. I see every possible diet known to man. People come in and they start it, and they ask me if they think it's a good idea. For some people, having primarily meat and not having the carbs and grains, etc., do very well with that. And they burn fat, burn sugar, lose weight, cholesterol comes down. I don't know if I could just eat steak all the time,
That's how I feel.
I love eggs. I love a good pork chop. Two of my favorite places for pork chops. One is called Opus in Jericho. A magnificent Scotto restaurant, gigantic restaurant, and I love all the food there, by the way. The other is Hilltop Kitchen in Jericho Turnpike. Amazing. Two of the best pork chops I've ever had in my life. Super juicy. Well, that being said, I don't know that anybody can just have steak and, pork chops and eggs. I like a variety of other foods, and I like vegetables. But if for a short period of time you opt to do that, and you're showing me that, your initial blood work is okay, and if your cholesterol's high and you do that for a period of time and you're getting great results on your blood test, then I would say that may work for you. I don't know that I would do it, forever, but I would do it and maybe intersperse it here and there to be able to create, a good outcome. Because a lot of people are overweight, have high cholesterol and all these other issues, high blood pressure. And if that can help, you can kind of pulse dose that. Do it, then back off a little bit, do it. Some people might want to do a lot of vegetables in between doing carnivore for 2 weeks, then do the vegetables. So we can create whatever diet can work for you, but we still have to make sure that your vitamin and mineral levels are great. So it may not be a bad mechanism.
All right, we got this question from Instagram. Can you explain how high fructose corn syrup affects overall health, especially in relation to blood sugar levels, weight gain, and long-term health risks?
Well,
I didn't realize how many foods/beverages contain high fructose corn syrup, and I've been hearing a lot of negative things about it, especially when it comes to children.
Yeah, it's all bad. It's just a very, very high sugar-containing substance. And, companies, you're not going to be surprised to hear that companies will make foods addicting by putting sugar and salt and fat into foods, fast foods, etc., and that makes you want to keep having those things. And if you're having a lot of sugar from any source, your blood sugar goes up, Your body feels good, and then you release insulin, you drop your sugar, and now your sugar might be low. You crave, that's hypoglycemia, and then you want more of it. There are also studies, and I've read them over the years, about heavy metals and high fructose corn syrup. I think one of them was talking about lead, another was talking about mercury. So you could easily go online, and I should, just to be able to see, and we could look that up right now, about high fructose corn syrup and heavy metals. I know the literature describes that. And another major reason to get that completely out of your diet. High fructose corn syrup and heavy metals. Bingo, bingo, bingo. I knew that little corner of my brain had something important to comment about it with those. But yeah, so it's addictive. It's horrible for you. You have other things in it. BPAs, aluminum. Yeah, it's just all bad. So I wouldn't have any of that in any beverage. And I tell people, you can go out and get seltzer, and you can go out and get, Pellegrino or good sparkling water and put a little seasoning or flavoring into it. You can put, organic fruit into it and make your own drink. Have that instead of these heavily chemical substances.
It is crazy when you think about it. Like when I was a child, right? Everyone that was playing a sport, it's Gatorade, right? Mm-hmm. Drink the Gatorade. It's going to help you, all the ads. It's basically like, drink this thing and you'll be an incredible athlete. It's like, we have really come a long way as far as like, no, it's really water. You want to drink water, and that advertising, it's finally like collapsed. But it's so crazy to think that when I was a child, like that was what was shoved down everyone's. It's like, do this, you'll be better.
Someone said that advertising and marketing is to get you to buy something that you really wouldn't normally want or have or get. And this has been ongoing for many years. And the people making these things with all the bad crap in it, I'm sure have been paying off unscrupulous politicians to be able to get what they want. So this comment here talks about the average American consumes 50 grams of high fructose corn syrup each day. On top of that, they drink 403 cans of soda a year.
Not me.
So these are statistics that are bad and don't make any sense. So we've got to be aware of what we're eating, of our vitamin levels. We've got to be aware. The more aware we are, the better, the healthier we'll be. So yeah, all bad, high fructose corn syrup, all bad.
Okay, we got a follow-up on YouTube. It says, how much water do we really need to drink in a day? Also, do you have an opinion on those liquid IV packs? Are they healthy?
Okay.
I don't know if you know about those.
Yep. So water really depends upon activity. So you can't say that I'm a marathon runner and I'm going to drink X amount of water and I'm not a marathon runner. You need to have enough water to hydrate your cells. And in some cases, the old way to look and see if you're hydrated well is to take your skin and pinch it. And if your skin tense and holds up, then you're a little dehydrated. And if your skin snaps back, then you have better hydration. And that's an old medical thing that we were taught in medical school and internship and residency, because you have to test everybody to see if they're dehydrated. Of course, as you get older, your skin gets a little bit less elastic. That's really not going to be a wonderful measure. It used to be said that 6 to 8 glasses of water a day is what's recommended. And in some people, it could be tea included in that. But probably 6 to 8 glasses is average. For some people, we recommend more. It just depends upon activity. How much are you sweating? How much are you burning off? What activities you're doing? And looking at your blood test, too, because your BUN level, which is blood urea nitrogen, can tell us if that's elevated, you might be a little behind in water. Your creatinine, your GFR. So, we look at a wide range of things to determine that status. And again, within that range of what we're looking at, we always look at vitamins, minerals, hormones, metals, the whole gamut. But yeah, it's got to be at least 6 to 8 glasses a day, not water in plastic bottles. We've mentioned that over the past couple of programs. Yes. Glass. Or get the filtration system on your house, as I've done. First thing I bought when I got my house. And you can get steel containers. I have one made by Stanley, the tool company. Why I got that, I guess I was in either Home Depot or somewhere, and it's a gigantic steel container with, a handle. And if you've got a great filtration system in your home, put the water in the steel. It's completely safe. You want to put a little fruit, in it or something, do that, and drink that throughout the day. Makes sense.
All right, we got one more.
Okay.
I know that some salt is essential for the body, but how do I determine what amount is too much?
So some people have too much salt in their diet, start to swell a little bit. Sometimes their feet swell because you're retaining more water because salt attracts water to it. You have to be careful with salt. Some sources of salt are better than others. Basic, sodium chloride salt that you may get in any regular circumstance is probably not the best. Sea salt is probably healthier, safer. Himalayan salt may be good, but you have to understand that not every manufacturer is going to have the most perfect and organic, product. So you have to kind of put your investigative hat on for that. But it's been said in research you need about 1,000 or 1,500 milligrams of salt per day, which is a little bit hard to tease out depending upon different foods that you're having. Most people have 6,500 milligrams of salt a day, which is way too much. So we have to kind of work at that to help to bring that into a better range. Blood tests, you can look for sodium and chloride, so you can get your blood done to see where you are with that as well. Once again, phone lines are open, 888-420-9272, 888-420-9272. Here's your chance to call in and ask a question.
Last call.
Okay, got to get one more call there. Interesting that, and we've put this out everywhere and on the website, etc. Doctors don't like to talk too much. Certainly, this is the opposite case. I like to talk too much. But I want to give people information, get them interested in reading, learning, looking, etc. And the reason I'm doing the podcast is because I've always liked to talk to people and give them an idea as to how they can be helped. 35 years on the radio in New York, and that spanned over a gigantic area, big 50,000-watt stations, WOR, WABC, EVD, and that's what I did. I worked 6 days a week, and between two offices and Saturday morning show, I used to do Sunday evening, so I've done a ton of this. It's what I do. So we like the fact that you call in and ask a question, or type in and ask a question, or in any way, shape, or form.
Ask that question.
Yep. We'll give it another couple of moments in case people want to chat.
Yep. Let me check Instagram.
It's also amazing to me that I go on my page in TikTok and you see all these likes, and all of a sudden it's 300 people. It's amazing to me that so many people are looking and liking. I thank everybody for it. And between Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, it's great to see. And I've got to say that in my overview of all of this, I got my medical degree in 1986, went to New York College of Osteopathic Medicine, so that's 39 years ago. My idea was always to be comprehensive and add the nutritional realm, and this is what I've done my entire career. People today are so much more interested, so much more involved, want to learn about eating right, what water should they drink, how much of this, how much of that. It's wonderful because, it was a little bit of a discussion initially. People said, why should I take vitamins, or why should I do this or that? And to me, what I thought was an obvious thing, you want to take vitamins to keep your body healthy and maximize your function, and you're exercising to create the same. Now people come in and they're going to CrossFit, they're doing this, that, they're great. They're all over the place. The more things you do for your brain and your body, the better. It makes you strong and healthy.
All right, we got one more question from Joelle on TikTok.
Okay, Joelle, how are you?
It's a personal question. It says, what led you to become a doctor?
Oh, wow. Good question. So my mom and dad, and mom is going strong at 95, super awesome. She's watching the program. I know that if I talk well about her, she'll cook some more for me. Hopefully. At least I make her laugh every day. My dad, rest his soul, passed at 91 in 2019. My dad and mom and my aunts and uncles had a very tight-knit group. And my mom's side of the family was a massive amount of people, and they were very outgoing, very inclusive. My mother's grandmother, I think, had 18 kids. I think 4 of them may have died young, but all those kids had 10 kids or something. So we used to go to her family reunions that had tons and tons of people. I thought I had the biggest family in the world. So my aunts and uncles and parents would always have friends that they would invite over for gatherings and, different holidays and things. And we'd go to other people's homes. It was a constant thing. It's just, just lots of great friends. And one of them was a doctor who was a DO named Gus Conti, who's rest his soul, was a wonderful, wonderful guy. And he would come over and I would sit and talk with him about what he did. And he did a lot of physical medicine and physiatry, musculoskeletal issues and injections and things. And of course, you're a young kid and getting through high school and getting into college. It was just amazing to me to see that he did these things. And I'd go with him and he'd give me a lab coat and I would sit with him in his office and examine patients. So the patient allowed it, of course. And, I saw all this amazing stuff and I said, wow, this is genius. So I went into college and I decided to go for a, bio pre-med major. And then at one point he was working at what used to be Nassau County Medical Center on Hempstead Turnpike in East Meadow. I don't know the name of it now. It might be Northwell or one of these bigger companies or I don't know, who took it over, but he worked in the rehab department in the lower floor downstairs, and you saw all these car accidents and motorcycle accidents. And honestly, when I first saw these things and casts and external fixations with pins, it was a little scary, but it just made me so fascinated by this that I decided that's what I wanted to do. I kind of liked the idea of being a doctor when I thought about it and, the knowledge base and learning and helping and fixing. But then when I saw these things, actively work, it became compelling to me to be able to want to do this. And I learned as much as I could, did as well as I could, got into medical school and loved it. I mean, I would come home at night and I was living at home because, for a while I couldn't afford to go out and get an apartment because, you're using your loans to help to pay for school and such. But I would study on the big dining room table with all these books around me and, would play Frank Sinatra, Saturdays with Sinatra, and just to kind of allow my head to calm down. And I would study and study and study. And, it was just, I couldn't do anything else. In college, I went to Adelphi and I took some business courses and I took the course and it was fun. And I said to myself, my friends, all right, well, now what do I do? If I just do a business degree, where do I go? Where do I work? And how is the rest of my life sort of set up? And I just couldn't understand it. I mean, of course, many people do and have wonderful careers and all sorts of things. But when I took the science courses and the pre-med courses, it was just amazing. So that's where I just fell in love with it. And that's how it happened. So it was a very fortunate progression for me. Perfect field for me, except maybe singer. I would have liked to have been a famous singer like Frank Sinatra or Bobby Darin, but maybe in a different life or maybe my next career. Yeah. So Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Okay, so that's our last question?
That's our last question.
All right, so I've been talking for a long time, so that's good. Thank you all for listening and watching. If you'd like to contact the office or email us and we could answer your questions through the website. The website's drcalapai.com, CALAPAI.com. The office phone is 516-794-0404. You can look at all of the podcast videos that we have here on YouTube and Spotify. And I think that pretty much covers it, right? Once again, wonderful thanks to Frankie and Sabrina because they are controlling this entire mechanism in the most beautiful way. But certainly give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Email us. We'd love to answer your questions. We get about 100 plus emails a week to the website. So we're diligent. Myself, my office manager, Donna, who's wonderful, Mindy, my PA, who's wonderful. And we get back to you right away. So keep those cards and letters coming. Where did that come from? Someone said that.
Cards and letters?
Yeah, keep those cards and letters coming. I don't know if it was a Carol Burnett show or something like that. But, yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And we'll be back here tomorrow live at 2:30 to 3:30 or so.